Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Hannah. Today I went to the library and I'm actually going to be starting a reading vlog today. It actually snowed here last night, which isn't something that happens a lot. I was originally going to go to the library on Tuesday, but it had snowed a little bit during the night, so I was like, oh, Wednesday's supposed to be sunny, I'll wait until then. And that was a bad idea. So we ended up with a lot more snow than I was expecting. It is sunny though, but it's also like 24 degrees Fahrenheit, so that was a bit colder than it has been. We literally went from being like almost 60 degrees to 24, so fun times. Anyway, I did take a little video of me kind of walking to the library. I do go to the American Library in Paris, so I thought that'd kind of be cool to see. I didn't think to actually take video in the library, so I'll try and do that next time because I just completely didn't think of it at all. I figured I might as well show which books I got. I'm not really gonna say like the descriptions or anything like that, since I'll just save that for the wrap-up video. But I ended up getting This Is How You Win, or This Is How You Lose, The Time War by Max Gladstone. And Ori just completely jumped onto the chair and into the frame. Come on, Ori, you gotta stay down. You changed everything. Yeah, it's definitely crooked now. Well, things look different. Sorry, cat jumped on it and is now scratching on the scratching post. The next book I've actually had on hold since I think like Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. It was finally my turn. So I'm hopping on the hype train for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is the book that I'll be doing this reading vlog on. It is a pretty lengthy book, but it's not like a wall of text or anything, and it's a pretty big font, so I think it'll be pretty okay to read. I've listened to quite a few people's opinions on this, so I'm excited to see if I share those opinions or not. Next, I picked up The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I pretty much don't know anything about this book. I just had it on some want to read list, and my library happened to have it, so I just picked it up. And lastly, I wanted to pick up Sadie by Courtney Summers because I'm actually interested in one of her new books coming out called The Project, but the library quarantines books for 3 days after the return before putting them back on the shelves, and that's where that book still is, so I was not able to pick that up today. But luckily I remembered another book I wanted to read that the library happened to have, and that is Out by Natsuo Kurino. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm actually kind of excited about this book because it's about a woman who murders her husband and her coworkers actually help her cover it up. It takes place in Japan, and I'm just really intrigued by the concept and seeing how it plays out. So most of the books I got are kind of hefty, and I also have a book coming in the mail. One of the books that I rarely buy is for my book club. Well, not my book club. I don't run it. I'm just helping out right now. But it's a book club of a friend of mine, and we read and talk about one book a month. And this month is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, I think is the last name. The list for getting that book at my library is like 8 people long, so there was no way I was going to end up getting it this month. So I just ended up buying it. Usually after I'm done reading book club books, I'll try and pass them on to another member, so that helps me with the cost as well, because I don't particularly like buying books, especially hardcover when they're like 20 bucks. Anyway, back to the book that this whole video is going to be about. So The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I'm sure everyone has heard about this 1,000,001 times. You probably know what it's about. Like, I don't even need to look at the description to know what it's about. Obviously, we follow the life of Addie LaRue. I believe it goes over about 300 years. She basically makes a bargain with the devil to live forever, but in return, no one is going to remember her. So even if she has an interesting interaction, that person is never going to remember her again. However, things change when she meets someone that does happen to remember her, and I guess it goes from there. I have heard that this book is very Eurocentric. Like, she definitely doesn't travel as much as she could, and pretty much just sticks to what she knows, what I've heard. So if that is the case, that's kind of disappointing, but I'm interested to see for myself how this goes. And I guess we'll see by the end if this is as overhyped as people are saying it is. Also, I never really have much to show in reading vlogs besides the books and my thoughts on it, because we're in COVID times and I live in a studio apartment with my husband and animals, so there's pretty much nothing else to see except for them. Like, I only go out to go grocery shopping or to the library, which is why I took some video of me walking to the library, because that's pretty much all I do. And I'm not really sure what I can show beyond that. Today I am going to start messing around with the editing program DaVinci Resolve. I've always used Shotcut so far to edit these videos, but I've heard really good things about DaVinci Resolve, and it's also free, or at least there's a free version of it. And I'm going to start trying to learn that today. So I'll probably try and take a little video of that, and I'll see if that should make it into this video or not. Hello, it is now Thursday, I think it is. I am here in my kitchen sitting on the counter because my husband has meetings all day, so I can't really be out in the living room with him. And I kind of wanted to get this done while it's still light out, so I'm just up here with this dirty, wet window behind me, but we're just going to ignore it. And Ori is here joining me as well. Yes, got a pretty boy. So last night I only got to read for about 15 minutes, so I didn't even bother with an update. The impeachment trial is going on right now, and it starts at like 6 p.m. our time, so it just kind of cuts right through all the time I normally read. So I read a bit this morning, and I'm on page 50 something now. I do like this so far. I really like V.E. Schwab's writing. I've never read any of her books before, but I'm definitely going to be looking into it now. My hair is also all messed up looking because it's still drying, so I haven't straightened it yet. It's just, yeah, we're gonna ignore that too. But yeah, so I definitely want to check out more of her books because I'm digging her writing style so far. This does remind me of Beauty and the Beast so far, the beginning part of like not wanting to stay in a small town and wanting to like follow your dreams and just kind of be free and whatever, with obviously the devil character being the part of the beast. It's just instead of running to a beast, Addie is running to a different kind of beast. This is dual timeline. It kind of keeps flipping back and forth in the chapters, whether it's when she first was cursed or the present day. So it goes between 1714 and the early 2000s. All the chapters so far are also really short, and I feel like that's going to help make the story feel like it's going to fly by. Obviously, so far, this is mostly her origin story, which I am really enjoying. That's probably, to be honest, it's probably going to be my favorite part of the story, because what I've heard of this is it's probably kind of going to go downhill from here. I really like that we're learning about what her life was like before she was cursed. We know her reasoning, we know why she did it, we know her thought process, and I do really appreciate that. One thing though is, as a child, she's really into drawing, and she keeps drawing the same face of this guy, and she's like, oh, I did this out of like loneliness or whatever, I made up this person. But it's kind of implied that she made up her own perfect person, or like Prince Charming, but then she says she's not interested in marrying anyone or belonging to anyone, so that feels a little weird. And this person that she keeps imagining is also the form that the devil takes when he appears to her. So I'm wondering if this image is something that the devil actually kind of like implanted in her, because the way she talks, it kind of seems like this thing might be something that's kind of always followed her. If not, it's also just kind of like, oh, she needs to have some kind of fantasy man, which seems kind of odd to me. So I'm not really sure the significance of that so far. One thing the creature she's bargaining with says is, I am stronger than your god and older than your devil. I really like that line, but at the same time it's also like, don't you cut yourself on that edge kind of thing. And I feel like the paragraph this comes from is really gonna be why I don't like what happens later on, because I feel like this being who's supposedly been around forever, like since the creation of time, is probably going to act in ways that really don't make sense for something like that intelligent and that old. So right now, I love the beginning. I really enjoy the beginning. I like what we're learning, but I just kind of have a feeling it's going to go in the way of Beauty and the Beast, where there's going to be like some sort of Stockholm syndrome going on. And I'm just curious what the relevance of this person she keeps drawing over and over is. Hey, it's nighttime here now, and I'm just over 100 pages into Addie LaRue. So this is also multiple perspective, which I didn't know at all. So we have multiple perspective, we have multiple timelines, and I feel like that's why this book is probably so big in the end. I'm not really excited about that because I don't generally like multiple point of views, so that's a little disappointing for me. That chapter also wasn't as interesting as the other ones have been so far, so yeah, I'm hoping it's just not gonna make the book drag overall. So not much has actually happened because it's mainly flipping between the past and the present is pretty much just about her going through New York and stealing shit. Since nobody remembers her, she doesn't exactly have to pay for stuff most of the time, and she just kind of takes things and leaves. I definitely understand why she'd have to do stuff like that in the beginning, because she had literally nothing. But the concept of her not being able to leave her mark on the world or be remembered is a lot more broad than I thought it was. Like, she can't write anything because it's literally leaving like her mark on something. So even if she like spills something, it's immediately going to be absorbed, but somehow her stealing stuff is considered anonymous, and that's what makes it okay. But like at one point she walks through a field and no one's watching her, but the stuff that gets pushed down from her walking on it, it springs back up as she goes through after, and like no one's gonna know she's the one that stepped there, so why wouldn't that be considered anonymous too? Like, there's some things that I don't really understand why the stealing part is okay, but other things aren't. But I think it probably has to do with the fact that the creature she made a deal with is considered bad, and stealing is also bad. So I guess it's allowing her to do that. I don't know, it's a little odd in the rules. Another thing I noticed is it seems like Addie is able to remember everything throughout her life, like she's not capable of forgetting anything ever. She also seems to know quite a lot of languages, and even if she hasn't used one in a really long time, if she reads something in that language, she immediately understands it, so that would be a really cool ability to have. But yeah, so far, even at 100 pages in, we're still like getting into the plot. Nothing major has really happened yet. And I'm curious to see how I'm going to feel about this multiple point of view. So it's now Friday evening, and I'm at about page 160. In terms of the timelines and everything in this book, I definitely enjoy the past a lot more than the modern one. The past is definitely my favorite, then the modern one, and then Henry's point of view is probably my least favorite. He's not exactly interesting or doing anything at the moment. However, this last chapter, we finally got to the point where Addie encounters him and he remembers her, and so she's realizing for the first time in 300 years that someone is actually recognizing her, remembering her. So now I'm hoping that the modern timeline picks up a bit, because so far it's pretty much just been like her daily life and her just stealing stuff left and right. So it hasn't exactly been the most interesting. It's a lot more interesting in the past because it's literally her origin story and is going through what she needs to do to survive in those first few years. So that's really interesting to me. And right now, like once a year, the devil creature thing comes back to her and kind of taunts her a bit and is like, yay, don't you want to give all this up, right? Like, haven't you suffered enough? And there's actually one line of his that I thought was kind of interesting. It's like the third year after the curse has been put on her, I believe. And he says to her, "And who will be blamed, I wonder, for the missing chocolates in the ladies' room, or the blue silk robe? Do you think no one suffers when you steal?" And I'm really glad that that is pointed out, because it's something that she just does constantly without thought, and obviously she kind of has to survive, but still at the same time, it's like, you probably don't have to do that much and go that far a lot of the times, especially in the modern timeline. But yeah, I'm glad it's just something that isn't being glossed over, and that it's actually kind of a discussion in the book even. I think that's about as far as I'm gonna get tonight. So far, I definitely think this book is overhyped. It's not as engaging as I thought it would be, and especially with all the back and forth, like when I'm just interested in the old timeline, I don't really care what's happening with some random dude named Henry that like hasn't even met Addie yet and stuff. So that's kind of meh a bit for me. Hello, it's now Saturday, I think, right? Yeah. And last night I woke up at 4 a.m. and I couldn't fall back asleep. So I was laying there thinking about the book a bit, and I thought of this, and so I just wanted to add it in before I read anymore. But Addie really reminds me of how white people act in horror movies, where they just kind of plow through every single sign that what they're doing is fucking stupid. And then, surprise Pikachu face when everything goes sideways. Like, she says, "I'll do anything," and it's like, bitch, what the fuck did you expect? Like, you literally had all these warnings that everything was gonna turn out bad. You did exactly what you were told not to do, and then she is furious and freaking out when it turns out it's not exactly what she wanted. Like, when she first meets this devil creature, she even thinks to herself how this isn't right, I fucked up. But then she's so desperate and just so eager to have a different life. Oh, I see Torky crawling up the cat tree. Oh, and there's Ori. That she literally says she'll do anything, and I just don't know how she can be mad at what she gets when she also can't even word what she wants. Like, The devil even is like, you're just saying things you don't want. Like, what the fuck do you actually want, man? And she just gives, like, the vaguest answer. And he's just like, awesome, I get to twist this into whatever the fuck I want. And then she's fucking pissed. And it's just like, come on. Like, it's just, it's almost like a stereotypical horror movie at that point. Just with how it's set up and her reaction. Because it's just like, what did you think was gonna happen? Like, really? What the fuck did you think was gonna happen? So I just thought that was kind of funny. It was just where my brain was going at 4 a.m. last night. Hey, so today is Sunday. It's actually Valentine's Day, but all the restaurants have been closed here since October, I believe it was, or is, so not exactly having any plans today. I'm just in my kitchen making spaghetti for lunch. We pretty much deemed today a potato day where we're just do the bare minimum. And so neither of us are gonna cook dinner. We're gonna order something to be delivered, and I'm just making basic spaghetti for lunch. Nothing complicated. It's just gonna be an easy day. We already cleaned the chinchilla cage, so like we don't have to go grocery shopping, we don't have to go out at all. It's just gonna be a nice, relaxing day today. And I actually found out recently that my husband hasn't seen some of the Avengers movies, so today's gonna kind of be a movie day. We're gonna watch Avengers Age of Ultron, and then later on we'll probably watch the first Thor movie. So he's gonna get a bit of an education in that today. I did read last night, but it was later than I normally do, so I didn't film last night, just kind of out of respect, because I'm pretty sure the neighbors can hear when I talk, and it was like almost midnight, and I didn't exactly want to be talking loud for that. I made it to exactly page 200, so I'm just about halfway through the book. The modern timeline is finally picking up. It's finally getting more interesting. It's been more of Addie interacting with this new character that remembers her, Henry. And I'm pretty sure the reason Henry can remember her is that he's probably cursed as well, or has made some sort of deal with something as well. He's described as seeming like a very lonely and sad person. And I'm wondering if the deal he made has something to do with either his physical appearance, or maybe he traded his life to make his loved ones successful, because he's kind of like the one unsuccessful person in his family and his friend group. Like, everyone is doing all these cool things and he's just kind of there. But yeah, I mean, even just based on the description of the book, we know that he's going to be different. There's going to be some sort of twist. So I obviously won't say what the twist is going to be when I get there, but those are my theories right now. I do want to read today, probably in between the movies we watch, because I'm assuming that he's probably going to play more video games, and I probably will as well at some point, to be honest. But yeah, today's just really going to be a nice chill day. Like, I haven't even brushed my hair today, and I'm just in sweatpants and a t-shirt. We're just going for full comfy. And that's pretty much going to be our Valentine's Day. Today is Monday, and what the hell is that on my face? Anyway, so today has been a little bit crazy because the past few days my cat Ori has been sneezing and one of his eyes is like really leaky and stuff. So we took him to the vet today, and it turns out that he has a virus. My husband and I have both had a cold lately, so we think he might have caught that. But we have some stuff we have to put in his eyes and some pills we have to give him the next few days. And we're gonna have to burrito him every morning and night, so that's gonna be fun. We also have to keep an eye on our other cat, Torty, to make sure she doesn't show any symptoms. They said she probably has the virus, but since she's a bit of a mutt, she's a little bit more resistant to it than Ori, who's a purebred, so yeah, it's one of those deals. So I read some more of Addie LaRue last night and this morning, so I'm close to 300 pages in, I think it is. I'm finally liking the modern timeline more. However, it is definitely dragging. Like, I kind of feel like we should be getting close to wrapping it up by now, and it just kind of keeps going on and on. The multiple point of view is really, like, I'm really not liking that. I don't think there should be so many chapters from Henry's point of view. I do think it's a bit of an overkill, and it's kind of taking my enjoyment out of the story, and it's taking me out of the story as well. Because I'm finding that when it switches back to Henry's point of view, I'm just wishing it was Addie's, or if it was in the past again. So it's exactly what I usually dislike with multiple point of views, and adding with multiple timelines as well. It's just, now that we're following two characters, there's 4 different types of chapters now. We have chapters of Addie's past, we have modern Addie, now we have this Henry character, and then we end up having chapters of Henry's past, and it's a little much. And since I read a book at the beginning of January that did this very, very well, I guess I have higher expectations when books do that now, and I'm just not a fan of that. But I am enjoying the story itself, and I am excited to see how it ends, what other twists and turns are going to be in there, because I'm pretty good at guessing this book so far, and it's a bit more predictable than I thought it'd be. So we'll see how that ends. So I have about 100 pages to go, and this book is way too long. I'm a bit ready for it to end. It's kind of just going through like their everyday life. It's not doing too much. Like, I understand the significance of the chapters, but it's so slow going, and it can just be subtle at times, and I don't think it needed to be this long. Also, I feel like there's just way too much name dropping with like the famous people that she's interacted with throughout history. Like, it just feels like name dropping for the sake of name dropping, and it's kind of pointless. Like, you can't have every person she's interacted with throughout 300 years be some famous person. That's completely ridiculous. So that's kind of lost me a bit. Also, there's a part where she's been alive for like 100 years, and she basically leaves France for the first time, and she says that she never even thought about leaving France, and it's like, holy shit, you're immortal and thought that you would just never leave your country. Like, that seems a little bit weird to me, because I feel like you'd want to see as much of the world and of history as you could. So I don't know, but I'm kind of waiting for things to start taking a turn, and nothing's really happening yet. I hope it does, because I'm kind of like, alright, let's move on, let's get to the climax of the book, and it still just keeps kind of going like day by day by day. I think it's gonna end up making me lower the rating of the book by like half a star or something, because for a while I've been thinking I'm probably gonna rate this 4 stars, but now I'm leaning more toward 3.5, because this part just isn't as interesting. I did read one of my favorite chapters, but it was literally 3 pages long, and I don't think that can really make up for the past 100 pages of not much happening, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. Alright, so today is Tuesday, and I have finally finished this book. It is incredibly slow paced, and it seriously felt like it took 300 years to fucking finish this thing. Oh my god. It was just another one of those where it just feels like the ending is continuously coming up, but instead of there being a conclusion, it just keeps going and going and going. It's like, alright, this is getting a bit boring. Like, can we actually have a conclusion now? Especially since this is more like a slice of life book with an overarching plot, especially with the multiple timelines and perspectives and everything. It just makes everything so much more drawn out than it could be, and that really, really slows down the pacing. And the question everyone wants to know, is this book overhyped? Yes, in my opinion, It is. There are bits in here that I really did enjoy. Like, my favorite timeline is definitely the past, the whole story of her being cursed, figuring out how to live with that curse, and her just going through the centuries. That was by far my favorite part, and still it just kind of became name dropping and more of her relationship with this devil slash god. Oh, chinchilla on a wheel. I did not know what the hell was happening for a second. So once we got into like the last quarter of that timeline, it kind of got stupid for me, and it just ruined itself a bit. Like, it just didn't really make sense to me for who the characters were, and so that was a bit of a disappointment. The second half of the book is mostly Addie's relationship with Henry and how he's involved and things of that nature, and it's very predictable. I unfortunately predicted everything that happened in this book, so that was kind of a letdown. I didn't exactly enjoy how the storylines were tied up. It just seemed a bit cliche to me. However, the last 2 or 3 chapters, they're really short chapters. The last ones of those I did like, and I liked what she did with those. So the very, very end is a good note, but kind of leading up to it is just kind of like, okay, I've seen this kind of ending before. Do we really have to go this way? And I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So my conundrum with this book is there are pieces that I really, really enjoyed. And if anyone else is reading this international paperback copy of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, my favorite chapter is the one that starts on page 293. It only goes to page 295, but that is by far my favorite chapter in this book. It just melted my heart a little bit, I guess. But yeah, my problem is I had chapters like that where I just absolutely loved, even though they were just a few pages. But then there were other ones where it's just like, no, like, this is either boring, feels out of character, or just doesn't add anything to the story. And I think that's kind of a problem with some of the slice of life moments, is there's scenes that happen that don't progress the story forward. There isn't much happening in that regard, and so it just feels like adding length for the sake of it to this book, and I feel like it could easily be 100 pages shorter and I would have enjoyed it a lot more, I think. But since I have such strong feelings on both sides of this book, I think I'm just gonna have to settle in the middle at like a 3 rating for this. I must admit, through the first quarter, I was thinking, quarter to halfway into this book, I was thinking more towards a 4, then a 3.5, and now I'm thinking probably just a 3. I'm definitely going to think about this book for a while though, because I just finished it like half an hour ago, so I definitely wouldn't mind dwelling on it a bit more, but I just wanted to get my first thoughts on camera. I am glad I've read it, and some of the criticisms I've heard about it are correct. In the 300 years, Addie only visits Western Europe and America, and that's it. It really doesn't acknowledge the rest of the world, and the main countries it focuses on are France, a little bit of Italy, England, and America. So...
I think it was a string.
Oh, he does have a string. Why do you have a string? So I think it's kind of weird she didn't broaden her horizons more, especially since like this devil thing, he can be anywhere, so she can pretty much go wherever she wants. So it's a little sad that she just stuck to those areas that are so similar to each other. I think maybe if you were drawn more toward romance stories, you'll like this a bit better than I did. I've never really been one for romance, so this definitely leans more into that than I was expecting. Which is probably why I liked the past timeline better than the modern one. But this does kind of reiterate my dislike for multiple points of view and multiple timelines and stuff like that, so I know that for sure now. I think that's about it though. Like I said, I'm glad I read this. I do believe it is overhyped, unfortunately, but that's kind of the way it goes with these. There is a long line to check this out at the library though. I think I requested it in like Christmas and I was 7th or 8th in line and there's still 5 people in line behind me, so now I can return this and let someone else have a chance. Thanks for hanging out with me though. I have no idea what I'm gonna pick up next, but I'll see you in the next video. Bye.